Human evolution has always been characterized by a series of challenges, but none of the challenges has ever been as catastrophic as the fateful event that wiped out almost 99% of the ancient human population 900,000 years ago. In this video, we'll explore the cause of the devastating event, the scientific evidence surrounding the event, how the remaining human species were able to survive the catastrophe, and the effect it had on human evolution. But before we go any further, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. With that said, let's keep things moving. The drastic reduction in the population of our early ancestors happened way before our species, Homo sapiens, emerged. The population of breeding individuals of about 100,000 was reduced to just a little less than 1,300 that didn't expand till 117,000 years later. For some decades now, researchers have been on the journey to unlock the mystery behind genetic diversity. They argued that this population crash correlates with a gap in the fossil record, possibly leading to the emergence of a common ancestor of modern humans and Neanderthals, Heidelbergensis. In the course of their study, they found significant evidence pointing towards population bottleneck in human evolution. A population bottleneck refers to an occurrence that leads to a drastic reduction in the size of a population, in this case, the human population. This disaster might have been caused by various events, such as extreme temperature changes, rise or fall in sea levels, huge volcanic eruptions, the hunting of a species to the point of extinction, habitat destruction that results in the deaths of organisms, or even an asteroid hitting Earth's surface. As a result, the reduction in genetic diversity is bound to happen, driving the evolution of important features of modern humans, such as brain size. However, the impact of bottlenecks can still be detected after thousands of years by performing DNA analysis on the genes of fossil remains found at the site of the catastrophic events. It was during one of these analyses that the bottleneck that occurred 900,000 years ago, wiping out 99% of the ancient human population, was discovered. Performing genetic analysis using a newly discovered technique known as coalescence theory, an international group of scientists were able to pinpoint the time of the chaos, suggesting that human ancestors suffered a severe population bottleneck starting around 900,000 years ago, lasting for almost 120,000 years, leaving behind about 1,180 survivors out of around 100,000 ancient humans hanging on a thin thread. What could have caused this drastic population decline that could have spelled the end for humankind, preventing our species from ever walking the earth? Understanding the cause would require us going back to how life was in the Middle Pleistocene, 900,000 years ago. The Middle Pleistocene saw various environmental and climate changes, extinction of various animal species resulting from climate change, leading to great ecological stress, as the ancient human species depended largely on these animals for food, hunting, exercise, and social gatherings. They also experienced attacks from giant predators that feed mainly on flesh and competition for the little resources and space available during the time. This period was characterized by changes in the glacial cycles from about an average of 41,000-year periodicity that prevailed through most of the early Pleistocene era to a cycle of 100,000 periodicity. The glacial cycles became asymmetrical with long glaciation periods that were interrupted by short, warm interglacial periods. There were two main trends in the early days of human existence: an overall decrease in temperature and a higher degree of climate fluctuation over time. These, along with other factors that affect the human species such as pandemic, natural disasters such as landslide, volcanic eruptions, flood, tsunami, among others, could have been the cause of the bottleneck. Let's see how these factors listed could have led to the drastic reduction in the human population. Environmental and climate changes. Scientists argued based on geological evidence that a major contributing factor to the near extinction of humans might have been extreme cooling that began around 900,000 years ago. This cooling period coincided with severe drought leading to widespread starvation, resulting in the decline of early human species and other species that human ancestors may have used as food sources. As there were no technological innovations as we have in our time, no shelter, no agricultural cultivation, no constructions or amenities put in place to scale through this adverse condition, surviving the turbulence must have been very hard. Pandemic. Several factors could have contributed to the outbreak of infectious diseases among early humans. Contractions could have resulted from poor hygiene, interaction with fellow humans in cases of communicable infections, transmission from animals, or even the environment such as the weather conditions. Social aftermath of disasters like earthquake, storms and volcano, exposure to radioactive materials, shortage of water supply, air quality, and food. A contagious disease could have spread quickly among the early human populations due to their lifestyle, especially in terms of close interaction and limited genetic diversity. Moreover, the ability to communicate and develop vast repositories of information goes hand in hand with intelligence and innate curiosity, which was not present in the earlier ancient human generations. There were no developed cultural systems of coordination that could have allowed them erect walls for limiting the spread of disease. Natural disasters. Although there is no known evidence pointing towards how natural disasters like flood, volcanic eruptions, and earthquake directly contributed to the wipeout, there has been a common notion that human extinction requires a global hazard that affects the ecological niche of human communities or causes harm that leads to drastic decrease in the population below the minimum viable size. As there are evidence of how volcanoes cause global cooling from the gases released into the atmosphere. Many of these natural hazards could not have been predicted or prevented hundreds of thousands of years back, as there were no technological inventions. Ecological stress. The relationship between our ancestors and their environment shaped how and where they lived. For the past 30 years, researchers have been interested in knowing how changing climates and variable ecological conditions like famine, drought, or even extreme cold has affected the earlier generations, including those that lived before the bottleneck event 900,000 years ago. Drought being the cause of most ecological stress might have exposed various species to vulnerability, shrinking their population sizes and diversity as the members of the community die off. Competition. Completion must have played a big part in the fall of the ancient human population. These human species did not exist alone on Earth. Their existence was based on the sharing of their environment with other human species, along with varieties of large and small predators. The human race has an evolutionary pattern of increased speciation for a particular period of time. Then competition sets in between the human species and other neighboring species, after which a flat line is hit, leading to increased extinction rate. This could have been the fate of the human species that faced the near-extinction bottleneck collapse. Studies have shown that the different human species that exist at any particular period of time when there's an increase in the population density often compete for food and resources due to limited availability of resources to cater for their needs. While competing with like minds, large predators would also compete with humans for smaller games, for resources like water that were almost not in existence during drought, or even feed on the human species. This competition increased until the whole population was close to extinction. Genetic factors. Although genetic variations in early human ancestors favored their ability to adapt and cope with various environmental challenges, genetic factors along with other external factors would have played a major role in the population crash. Inbreeding between the same species could have led to the increased risk of genetic disorder, reducing the inbuilt ability to adapt to various environmental changes. After a while, the population would have been prone to extinction. It could have been that the early humans had already been experiencing gradual vulnerability to external threat even before the bottleneck event occurred, exposing them to a drastic decrease in their numbers. Despite all the challenges encountered by this population of humans, a few of them were still able to survive the tribulations unharmed. What could have been the reason behind their survival? Were they better version than others? To answer these questions, scientists have made a lot of speculation regarding their survival. They stated that although there were various environmental events posing great threat to the population, some groups could have innovated some resources or coping mechanisms to go through the threat posed to them by the environment unscratched. Some of these groups might have also developed resistance for some diseases, thereby enhancing their survival rate. In addition to this, the survivors groups were always willing to migrate from a less favorable environmental condition to the environment that posed a lesser threat, which helped them survive the storm posed to them by the devastating event that took place 900,000 years ago. Their mobilization from one point to the other in search of safety also helped them expand their territory and hunting grounds. Genetic diversity played a two-way role in the life of the humans living at the time, as there was reduced genetic variation among the species. However, some of the populations then were endowed with traits that helped them adapt well to their environment, thereby surviving the huge storm. These traits also equipped them with resilience even after the chaos to adapt more to the environmental changes. The speculation concerning their survival also points at their ability to skillfully craft and use advanced tools such as handstones, axes, and scrapers to enable their hunting success through diverse game hunting. from large carnivores to large herbivores or even small herbivores, depending on the environmental conditions. These tools also helped in the gathering of plants for consumption, plants such as tubers, fruits, nuts, and others that provided essential nutrients. These technological inventions helped them acquire food even in the worst-case scenario from their environment, increasing their chances of survival among their peers during that period. Additionally, these groups of survivors must have made use of fire in cooking their food, which was a rare advancement at that point in time. The survival of these few ancient human populations can be concluded to be due to the complex interplay between adaptation coping mechanisms, social interactions, intelligent innovations, genetic diversity, and migration. This near-extinction experience explains the threat faced by early humans and how they were able to survive the condition. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in our next video.